I have just recently completed Alpe du Zwift in under 50 minutes, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to do the same thing. But before we start, let's take a look at the stats from my own climb. I have completed the climb at an average power of 297 watts, which with my 70 kilos corresponded to 4.24 watts per kilo. And I can imagine that seeing those numbers can be quite scary for a lot of people. In fact, 4 months ago that would be scary for me as well. So let me put your mind at ease a little bit. These are not the numbers necessary to complete the sub 50 challenge. The thing is, during this ride I really wanted to go sub 50, but I actually felt fantastic. Well, as fantastic as you can feel when climbing Alpe du Zwift. So I went way harder than I originally thought, and I crossed the finishing banner at 45 minutes and 18 seconds. See, if you really want to go sub 50, the requirements are way more lenient. If I used the same bike setup, had the same level of drafting and used the same pacing dynamics, I would have needed only 270 watts or 3.86 watts per kilo to go under 50 minutes, albeit just barely. And that's the first takeaway point from this video. To complete Alpe du Zwift under 50 minutes, you need an average power of at least 3.86 watts per kilo, but to be safe, I would recommend you to aim at 3.9 watts per kilo. If you know you can do that kind of power for 50 minutes, you can proceed with the challenge. If you know you can't, there's two ways on how to reach that number. And the first one is weight loss. That's actually what helped me in a huge way. Every kilogram lost significantly improves your watts per kilo, but only in one case, if you actually have a weight to lose. If you are already lean, any further weight loss would equal to lost muscle mass, and that's unhealthy, but also reduces your raw power output. And the second way is to improve your FTP. Since this is a 50-minute effort, you will actually ride very close to your FTP. Some of you at your FTP, some of you a little below your FTP, and ultimately some of you a little above. And there are several FTP drivers that you can target during your training. The first one is simply volume at low intensity. Unless you already ride stupid amount of hours in zone 2, riding more will inevitably push your FTP up, and the less you are currently riding, the bigger the room for improvement. For many of you, simply riding more can actually be enough to complete this challenge. The second driver is not directly about raising your FTP per se, but increasing the amount of time you are able to ride at your FTP. Many people believe FTP is the power that you can hold for 60 minutes, but that is actually not the case. It can be anywhere from 35 to 70 minutes, depending on what kind of rider you are. And if you increase the amount of time you can ride at your FTP, or in the correct term, time to exhaustion, the more time you can also spend above your FTP when necessary. And the best way to do that is to simply ride intervals around your FTP. Each of such intervals has slightly different purpose. If you ride a little below your FTP, that trains more of a muscle endurance. If you ride a little over your FTP, that increases your aerobic ceiling or VO2 max, but in the end, all those intervals will either raise your FTP or increase the amount of time you can spend at that power. And that's the training part, but even when you reach the required level, you can do a few things that will help you maximize your chances for success. Firstly, the nutrition. And there are many ways to approach this, but I will tell you what I have done. The day before, you want to have a carb-heavy meal for dinner to really fill up your energy stores. My preferred choice is a big bowl of pasta with tomato sauce. Then about 50 minutes before the start of the effort, I ate a fruit pouch, but you can have any simple sugars really, bananas, energy gels, gummy bears, whatever. And then during the activity, I had 1 liter bottle of drink mix that had 60 grams of carbs and 1000 milligrams of sodium. Secondly, rest and taper. You want to avoid hard workouts in the days before the attempt and have a good night's sleep the night before, so preferably avoid alcohol and caffeine as well. As for the taper itself, I didn't taper very much, but I was fairly confident I would be able to do it anyway. But if you really want to maximize your chances, you might want to do something like 3 days super easy before your attempt. And now the stuff that you can do inside the game. And the first thing is a choice of bike and wheels. Obviously you want the lightest setup possible, but bike upgrades threw a wrench into that line of thinking. Fully upgraded standard bike will be always better than unupgraded climber. As a rule of thumb, if your climbing bike has at least 3 upgrades, use that one. Next is your trainer difficulty settings. The climb is super steady, so it won't help you very much, but putting it to about 30% is about optimal. You still want to feel the sudden increases in the incline, but without needing to shift way too often. With that, it is also good to mention pacing. Ideally, you want your power to be as consistent as possible throughout the climb to avoid unnecessary fatigue, but in the steep corner sections, it is good to push a little harder to keep the momentum going. Finally, if you have an access to steering, make sure you do the shortest path around the corners and on the straight section steer behind other riders. There is not much draft on the climb like this, but even few watts will help you completing this challenge. And that is all there is to it. Let me know in the comments what is your Alpe du Zwift personal best, and if you want to see how I did this challenge, watch this video right here.